Okay, we're live. Good morning. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. And I'm joined this morning by a very special guest, Miss Charlene, is it Strang?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also my co-host is now with us, Miss Georgette Truin. Hello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. So, Charlene, where are you calling us from?
I'm from Chico, California.
Oh, you're right here in California.
Yes, sir.
So you're involved with CPS. What county is that? San Bernardino or
It's
Riverside?
it's Butte County.
Butte County.
Butte County.
Oh, because there's a Chico down here as well.
No, this is Butte County.
Oh,
We're like
it's not.
Northern California.
It's not Chico. It's Chino down here. I got that confused. So you're in Chico.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Butte County. Okay. So I've done a couple cases in Butte County. So what's going on with you and CPS up in Butte County?
Right now I'm getting ready to go back to do our 6-month review. I have 5 children total, but the 2 youngest is what the brought me into CPS. This is my better half. We had a baby together. This is my husband, Mr. Cash. So my baby was born with tox positive, but she was born below threshold. But anyways, we're fighting to get the girls back. We ended up having to go in pro per, which was not something we had planned to do. We really didn't want to do that, but we felt that we weren't being helped at all. So we had to do it ourselves. So for the last 6 months, this man over here is amazing. We've been studying our butts off in juvenile dependency and teaching ourselves what we know now. I mean, we wish we would have known then, but to be able to help other parents, to be able, because it's a scary thing. You don't know what's going on. You don't know the legal terms of anything. You don't know. And we get and understand that there's a purpose for CPS, but it has become, like everyone says, it's corrupt, and they're not helping people. We're all God's children. We're supposed to be helping each other, and this is not how we roll. If we don't roll like this in Butte County, and I know we shouldn't be rolling like this around the world. We're all supposed to be one, all of us.
So you said that the child was born with what again, Charlene?
She was born tox positive for
positive for what, baby?
Huh? Did you hear?
From methamphetamine?
Yeah, I had swallowed a piece of it, like a kind of like a little piece of it. I have ADHD. Was diagnosed as an adult, but I chose not. I didn't want to have to take. I didn't take medication during the pregnancy, so
but did you know what you were swallowing at the time when you took it? Did you?
Yes, ma'am, I did. Yes. Yeah. It's not something that people typically talk about, and it's not something I want to be, I'm just not, what's the word? I don't want to get distracted from the point of that. I mean, we've learned that there are laws about when it comes to, what were you telling me this morning?
According to California state law, Penal Code 11165.13, then for a baby that's born tox positive, then the hospital is supposed to set mother and baby up with services. Unless there's a risk to the child, then they're supposed to call in DCSF. But at the end of the law, it states do not make a report to law enforcement. Due to Ferguson versus the city of Charleston, where they were drug testing pregnant women and arresting them, and they had a big ring going on out there, and so that it went to the Supreme Court, and they made it unconstitutional for the Fourth Amendment, saying that it was unconstitutional to have punitive damages towards pregnant women whenever they have one test, and that's the only risk.
See, yeah, and that's the thing with me. I had just the one time. I've never tested dirty with CPS. I've given them all clean tests. I went out of my way to jump through the hoops before they were asked of me, completing what they wanted me to complete before I even was requested to complete it. I mean, I went above and beyond to get my girls home. But initially they just took the baby and not my toddler. And then they came back in 2 months afterwards, and then they lied, and then they took the baby. And so it's been really hard. It's torture to be separated from that bond that God gives us moms with our children, and to have them take that away is devastation on both parts. Everyone suffers. It's horrible.
Well, let me ask you something. Was the child just taken because of a positive toxicology test?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And our whole camp,
Hold on. Did you happen to see the drug testing show we did with the forensic expert?
No, sir.
Oh my
Okay.
God. Mm.
We did it. We ran it twice because of popular demand. We did a show with an attorney, and he's also a forensic scientist.
Okay.
He has degrees in pharmacology and forensic testing and all that kind of good stuff.
Mhm.
And I learned a lot from it. And I've been practicing law almost 37 years. I mean, he told me things that I didn't know. Did you know that usually a test at a hospital is actually not a test? It's
Mhm.
called a toxicology screen,
Correct.
right? Well, toxicology screens, at least in California, if objected to, aren't admissible into evidence because they're not actually drug tests. They are to screen to see if anything is there.
Correct.
Then, especially with meth, it has to be tested by a testing facility. And according to this expert, this attorney, this scientist, most drug testing facilities don't have the proper testing equipment to test for methamphetamine. The final test that they have to do for methamphetamine is a test that divides methamphetamine into two classes, L class methamphetamine and D class methamphetamine. One of those classes is legal. It naturally occurs in substances that you might eat or take, etc., etc. It's the other class of methamphetamine that's illegal. But if the testing facility doesn't have that machine to divide the test into two different classifications, it's not admissible into court unless you and your attorney don't object to it. See, anything is admissible into court if you don't object. Almost anything. So if you and here's the funny thing, I was talking with a very experienced attorney, probably 30-year attorney, in California in juvenile dependency CPS cases. And I brought up the issue of the toxicology screen not being admissible over objection. He was surprised. He didn't know that. See, toxicology screens are not tests for drugs. They're actually something else.
Mhm.
Now, they could indicate the presence of drugs, but the key word is could indicate. And for something to be admissible in California, scientific and mostly throughout the country, there's something called the Kelly-Fry test. And it says the results of a scientific test cannot come into play in evidence unless they meet certain standards.
Okay.
You just don't say, I tested something and it comes into evidence, right? So if it doesn't meet the Kelly-Fry test, you have to object to it. Now, separate and independent of this, I'll call it class that we had online, several months ago, I objected to a drug test coming into evidence under Kelly-Fry, but for other reasons, okay? And the judicial officer who was hearing the case looked at me like I was from Mars. Like, what? I mean, he didn't say this, but it was like, what the hell are you talking about? Right? And I said, it's a scientific test. It's not admissible unless we prove Kelly-Fry. Now, I think in juvenile CPS cases, it's just something that's taken for granted. You know, they say you tested positive. That's it.
That's it.
There's no further inquiry.
Mhm.
And somebody just posted this today, and I just commented on this about CPS manipulating results. I think that is a definite possibility. Okay, but what I now know, what
I've
I
been
now
saying
know,
that.
what I now know, it's not them manipulating the results. What it is bad testing procedures, right?
For
And
for
and
ours, it was that they came out 2 months later and said you have 4 presumptive positives, so we're taking the baby. So they take
okay,
my test.
well, there is nothing called a presumptive positive in California. Okay, that's a made-up term by CPS
Yep.
and
By
by
the
the court.
social worker. Yep.
So here's the thing. You
Unbelievable.
what they routinely do is they routinely say that if you missed a test or the test was diluted or whatever, that you test positive. But that's not the law,
See,
right? That's just their policy.
in our case, they're not going by the law whatsoever. In our
Ha-
case, they
Have you
started,
appealed?
they got the positive toxicology from the baby. They tested mother and they tested the baby's urine, and the baby's urine came back as below threshold. So then they came in 6 hours later and they cut 6 inches of the baby's umbilical cord off to send to Salt Lake City, Utah, to test the umbilical cord.
What?
And then they came in, and the according to the doctor's record, then mom was released the next day on the 8th at 9:30 in the morning, but then she was held for 30 hours detained because due to the fact that CPS was trying to get a protective custody warrant. And then the doctor released her again at 9:47 the next morning while the social workers were here at the house doing a walkthrough. And she was released again and held for another, well, that was 9:30 in the morning, and she was held, her and the baby were held until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, whenever the social worker finally got back to the hospital, because the hospital called and said, hey, we can't hold her any longer. So then they went and detained the baby without a warrant under exigent circumstances. And they left the 18-month-old in the house for the next 2 months until we went to jurisdictional hearing. And my attorney said, oh, I don't have any questions for cross-examination. Well, we went to detention hearing, and he said, I don't want to do a contested detention hearing because I'm going on vacation. So he submitted to the detention, and then it went to jurisdiction, and he sat down and said, I don't have any questions for cross-examination. And so I declared a conflict with him, and she declared a conflict with her attorney for sitting there right in front of him. And she got a call, the attorney got a call from CPS, and she answered it on speakerphone, and the CPS lady said, what are we going to do about father's objection that he filed today? And so her attorney said, hey, I'm in a meeting, I'm going to have to call you back. And so 2 months later, then they said that she had 4 presumptive dirties, even though they had, this was on November 1st, and on December 28th, then they got the results back from Redwood Toxicology saying that they were negative. And on November 1st, whenever we went to jurisdiction and I submitted my objection to the jurisdictional report, then that afternoon, then they went and applied for a warrant for the 18-month-old that had been left in the house for 2 months under pretense of 4 presumptive dirties, even though she's given 17 cleans.
Okay, so let me ask you something. Who are your attorneys?
We are.
Okay, so that's a really bad strategy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my attorney refused to give me a hearing on the detainment because he was going on vacation.
Well,
And then,
you should have told the judge you need a new attorney.
I did.
And what happened?
We went in pro per. We
had a Marsden hearing, and she let him go, and then let me proceed on my own, even though I was on the birth certificate. Then I'm still to this day an assumed father of my natural child, but I made presumed fatherhood of the 18-month-old, which is my stepchild.
Okay, so hold on a second. Stop for a second. So what you need to do is you need to find the show. We just did it, and it just ran as a rerun, I think, last Saturday. And you need to watch that. And there's an attorney in there, the scientist, the forensic specialist. You need to give him a call. You need to hire him Now, let me
Immediately.
tell you something. He's not
Mhm.
cheap. Okay, he told us his prices, I think, on the show,
show.
because I asked him, like, how much you charge people. Unfortunately, he's not cheap. But this may be the most important case in your lifetime.
Yeah.
So at least talk to him and see, what he can do and I don't know if he charges for a consultation or not. I met him probably 25 years ago, and he was an opposing counsel on a family law case I was doing. But, we kept in contact mainly on social media. We have some distant, what do they call it? Similar friends and stuff like that. But from 25 years ago to today, he's a totally different person, totally different lawyer. Okay. He went and got certified as a criminal lawyer, trial lawyer. He went and got certified, nationally certified as a civil trial lawyer. I mean, it's 180 degrees, maybe 360 degrees,
Yeah.
different attorney from when I met 25 years ago. I mean, he was just,
Sure.
a young guy starting out.
I have a couple of questions. I just didn't want to make sure I asked you beforehand.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep it real simple. We've learned that but there are huge things about learning words in court. You guys have your own language, and most people will never understand that. And so we're trying to catch on here, like objection. That's a big word. But the other thing is, the one thing I'm having struggle finding is, how is there a way to ask the judge that there be audio recording during the event?
During the trial?
Yeah,
Yes.
during the hearing.
Well,
If
each county does it different, but there's supposed to be a court reporter that transcribes everything that you say. And I think I've been in a couple counties where the court reporter is audio. So where it's just automatically recorded. Well, whether it's court reported or audio, all of your sessions, your hearings are transcribed or recorded somehow. Either transcription or audio recording.
We're having some conflict with that. So we're just hoping that for the future, we could somehow request that it be audio recording during the court hearing.
Well, here's the problem.
Okay.
All courts are not set up for audio recording.
Okay.
Okay, so that's something they're going back and forth with regarding technology.
Okay.
All courts, if you don't have audio recording, there's supposed to be a court reporter, transcribing everything that's said by everyone. And it can be published into a booklet form. It's called the court reporter's transcript.
Right.
That's what you need to make sure is, and what they're required to have in juvenile dependency cases. And you can get a copy of the transcript by requesting it through the court reporter's office and through your judge. It's confidential, by the way,
Right.
You got to agree to make it confidential. But yeah, you can get copies of the court reporter's transcript anytime.
Now, in our detention hearing, in jurisdiction hearing, and disposition hearing, at the end of them, then the judge said that she'd really like to give our kids back, but due to Welfare and Institution Code 300.2, it states that the provisions of the home should be negative from the negative effects of substance abuse, even though she had no evidence whatsoever that there was substance abuse in the home. And now we're in appeal. We sent it to appeal in January, and Butte County is not giving the appellate court the records, and now they've suspended our briefing time for the last 2 months, waiting on records from Butte County.
That's funny that you should say that, because in the case that I was involved in, that same thing happened.
Yeah. It's quite to get.
So do you have a court-appointed appellate attorney or a private appellate attorney?
Yes.
Court-appointed, yes.
So what you should do is contact them and find out if there's any motion that they can make where you win the appeal automatically.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Or there's other provisions where they can say they lost the record, and then you guys have to do what's called a summary yourself kind of thing. But it's a lot more work, but it might be useful for you guys to go down that route.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
My attorney has sent 3 letters to the county requesting records, and they still won't give the rest of the records.
One of the things that you and your attorney should talk about is filing some type of what they call God, my mind just went blank. It's called the Department of Health and Human Services complaint against the county and the social workers. And then you should also contact your local United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division.
Yes, I've done that.
Okay, Civil Rights Division, and file a complaint, because this is very strange for what you're telling me for a case in Superior Court in California, in your county, any county. How do you just lose the records?
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
almost impossible.
Vincent, do you remember when I used to tell you about drug testing a couple of years ago and you used to doubt me? And then Attorney Akori came and confirmed what I've been telling you all these years. I'm going to tell you something else about this case and your
Oh no,
case.
there's one more
everybody
thing I
else's
want to say.
case. Oh,
Charlene,
Yes, sir.
sir, Miss G mentions that every time that she can.
I have to, because he and I fought for years about this.
She
I would
she
defend
she
the
wa-
mother. I was
she
like,
was
find the
she
mother, like she's
but
innocent. She's not doing drugs. Blah blah blah
for
blah.
for the 100th time, she
Mhm.
was right once in her life. But go ahead, Miss G.
Now I'm going to be right again. Check this out. So the reason they're doing this to your case, Charlene, and your husband and Vincent's client, is because when it's a baby involved, a
Okay.
baby, they
Yes, ma'am.
procrastinate and they prolong process and they put obstacles in your way because they want a certain time to go by so they can
Mm.
get that baby adopted. So the
Mm.
judge can say, you know what? I'm kind of reluctant to make the move now because now the baby and the foster mom have been bonding.
Right.
Get
But
it? So that's why they do that. So
yeah.
there's no mystery to it. Okay.
But there's a big problem with that, is that and I people always say I talk a little bit too much about it, but the bond I have with my children, I'm a very strong mom.
I
And
know.
and my kids, when they hit that door, even the baby, when they see me, it's hysterical. Mom! Like they know who their mama is.
I
And
know, baby.
so
I
the
know.
people that see it, it's just really hard to get these the younger crowd, or not, maybe not necessarily the younger crowd, because I don't think it really has to do with age. Um, but I've been trying to take on each individual person with this agency that I've had to deal with on a one-on-one basis, because it's the when you take a step back and look at it as a whole, it's a very large orchestrated event that they're doing here, and it's sad. It
Oh,
is.
you have no idea. You have
You
no
don't
idea
know, baby.
the
There's
monster
worse than
that
you
you're
think.
dealing with. Listen, you need to get your children placed with
Immediately.
a relative or a family friend immediately, and I don't care where they live in the world.
Someone
need
you
to
trust,
you
Charlene.
need to get them out of the clutches of foster care, because I'm looking at you guys. You guys probably have attractive children, and guess what? They become gold on the adoption market.
Absolutely.
Okay. Get your children placed with a relative or family friend immediately. And I have a whole strategy about that, how to do that. And you need to do that right away. I've done videos on it, so you can look it up on YouTube or give me a call on Monday. But
Can we do that with the 388?
you can. It's not the most effective way to do it, in my
No.
opinion, but you can do the 388 and you can do what's called a 309 motion. Okay. And if I were you, maybe I'd do both.
Okay.
But I would talk to legal counsel about it.
Okay.
As I'm thinking about it, there's a guy in your county who's like very, from what I understand, a very good CPS lawyer, and I forget his name, but I'll look it up for you, and you can call me tomorrow or call Miss Truen, Miss G, and she'll tell you his name and number.
He forgets my name a lot. Don't know why.
Her. No.
Call her, the woman that, me.
My sidekick,
My sidekick. And I'm proud of it too.
I'll give her the information.
Yeah.
But he's really well known in your area in Butte County. The reason why I know is because I was doing some research and talking to people in the area 4 or 5 months ago, and I wanted someone to help me with a case in Butte County, and his name kept coming up, and I finally talked to him, and he wasn't able to help me because of a conflict, but he's definitely knowledgeable. He's definitely experienced, and
That's good.
I, I think that you need to have someone,
Mhm.
you know, helping you, or helping at least one of you through this maze. Because if you don't, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to be honest, you're going to lose those children.
God forbid.
And you think this is America and nothing like that could ever happen, you're going to be shocked.
God forbid. Come on.
And you'll be calling me, 2 years from now saying how you got screwed over. And I'm warning you right now, you're coming up on your 6-month date. It's an important date.
That's
Yes.
a very
You might only get a 6-month date because of the age of the children. Have you gotten the report on your
Yeah.
case?
Yeah.
They're requesting another 6 months.
Okay, so they are
Yep,
requesting
that's it.
another
That's it.
6 months.
Yes.
But I don't know
Mhm.
if you know this. They could have recommended no more 6 months. Just end it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that they're like I said, we've studied our butts off, but the biggest thing about studying not just the juvenile dependency and all the rules that go between all that, but the biggest one is knowing your constitutional rights. And that's where it's at, I think, for us. We keep talking about that because we have God-given rights, that are fundamental rights. And so we've been holding to that, we're all God's children and holding to those rights. And we get to the point where people don't want to take our paperwork anymore.
You know what, Charlene? I'm going to tell you something.
Mhm.
I'm trying to find the way to say this that's politically correct. Okay. Listen, I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a Christian. Okay. But to place all of your trust in your religious faith may be a mistake.
Okay.
I've seen it over, hundreds of times.
But explain why, Vincent, because you don't make God look like a mistake either. Okay.
No,
I mean,
I'm not saying that. I'm
okay.
saying is you're dealing with people
Uh-huh.
who have
Humans.
that have agendas you don't know about.
I
Mhm.
understand.
Okay. And sometimes God tests you.
Mhm.
Well, we'd hate to be the test of you losing your kids and still maintaining your faith.
You, see,
You
Ah,
you need
Can I?
legal help that knows what he or she is doing.
mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
I
The
totally,
prayers are good. The prayers are good and sometimes do work. I've seen it work. But you need legal help. Okay.
Yes.
Your faith plus the expert legal help, that's going to be unbeatable.
right.
Okay.
Mm.
We're pretty
But,
much
and what I don't understand is what allegations do they have against you, sir, that you can't have the child?
failure to protect because they
That's
put
bullshit. That's
they put in,
bullshit.
they
It's
put in
bullshit.
And
You- you-
they also came up with that we got into a fight, and they claimed it. They wrote it down as domestic violence, but then they came clean and said it wasn't. But then they went back and changed their minds and went back and put it back in the disposition. And I thought we cleared that up before, but apparently we're back to this again. And but they
did
can't
you
tell
guys
you-
did you guys appeal?
yes.
Okay.
It's in appeal now, and we're waiting for Butte County to release the records.
Oh, that's right. You told me that. Yeah. Okay. Um,
Oh,
get those kids moved. Get those kids moved to uh, another caretaker, relative, or family friend. And at the 6 months that you're not referring or recommending that children be returned to you, you need to set that for a contest. You need to set that for a trial to prove to the judge that the children should be returned to you, despite your the social worker's recommendation. In that county, something happened, and I want to tell you this quick story. This happened several years ago. The social worker convinced the parents to take a deal and plead no contest and agree to have the children placed into foster home. For you and everybody watching this video, does that sound familiar to you?
Yes.
Because they promised you that if you just did the 6 months of services, that you get the child back. Sound like a promise made to you in these cases? I hear it all the time.
Mhm.
And then at the 6-month hearing, you have a new social worker and they don't like you and they don't want to give the child back to you. And they recommend not to give you the child back at the 6-month review hearing. We just want you to do 6 months more. And then at the 12-month hearing, they recommend not to give the child back for you and to set it for a selection and implementation hearing where they're going to terminate your parental rights. That story I hear all the time. Now, I want to tell you something to be fair. I only get calls from people that have a screwed up case. Okay. I don't get the calls from people where everything's going smoothly. Okay. But the calls I get, I hear that story all the time. Don't worry, you'll get the kid back at 6 months. 6 months come. Don't worry, you'll get the kid back at 12 months. At 12 months, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to adopt your kid out to the foster
Yep.
care.
That process, they know what they're doing.
So
Yeah.
every time you can fight, every time you can appeal, you both need to be doing that. And by the way, you both have different cases. I hope you guys know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Different strategies, different
Different.
positions. I mean, I know you guys are together, obviously, as a couple and family, but legally, you have different cases.
Yes.
You guys need to be addressing that because I'm looking at you thinking, like, why don't these people have their kids?
Exactly.
You know, I'm no drug expert. Okay, I'm not. But 37 years as a lawyer doing criminal cases, 37 years or over 30 years doing these types of cases, having grown up in a family where drug addiction was an issue. I lost a son to drug addiction. I can kind of tell sometimes, you know, if drugs are an issue. Now, not all the time, and I'm not 100% right, but I'm looking at you guys thinking, I'm not sure that that's an issue here,
You can
right?
tell.
So, you know, get your test together, get your attorney together, and fight this because this is really important. I know it's America, but they will take your kids. They will take your kids, and you'll be scratching your head thinking, "How could this possibly ever have happened?" It happens. Do something now.
Please do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty much putting all of our eggs in the appeal basket, but then they don't want to give up the record. So the briefing time for our original brief has been suspended for almost 3 months now.
Now I had a
That's incredible. I mean,
Can he subpoena the record?
I don't.
Isn't I was trying to read up on this about how a parent can go in and request the transcripts, and they have it puts the county that gives them that where they have to give a parent those copies at request within a certain amount of days.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Okay.
But you know, it's true when there's an appeal, they have to give the Court of Appeals the record. And that's why I told you earlier, you should file a case with the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, because whatever they're doing, they're violating your rights. And as I said, just from statistically speaking, if I've heard of this happening in your county before, and you're telling me about it, something's weird going on.
Please file.
I can't explain it. Now, it may be something innocent. I don't know. But it should, but believe me, it shouldn't be happening. And because your case, you know, if it was the other way around and it benefited the county, they'd be rushing this thing through.
Yep.
Right? You are losing valuable time.
Yeah.
You are losing valuable time in trying to get your children back. And one of the things that's stopping you is this appeal. One of the things that's stopping you is the appeal. And you need to get that going and right on track. But the other thing is, do not put all your eggs in the appeal basket. You know, the chances of winning our appeal, I think, I think it's less than 10%, maybe even less than 5%, but it's low, right? Just in California in general. Have I ever seen anybody win an appeal in dependency CPS cases? Yeah, all the time. I see it. But it's not a high percentage play. Right? So you need to be focused on that and focused on your trial court case and getting the kids back at the 6-month date.
Right.
And getting the kids moved to a relative at the 6-month date.
Yeah, they've come out. I've had just recently. They wanted to. They wanted to have. They've been bugging to speak with him, and he said, "Okay, well, they can come to the house." So we had them all come here. and sit down and have a meeting with them and try to help explain where we were at. And they came to, oh, the house looks great. I gave them the tour, and there's never been any question of any type of anything with us, our businesses, our home, our the way we are as parents. It's just the one test.
Well, wait a minute. It's just one test?
They
Yeah.
want, and then they want us to, I had lost my driver's license at
Hold on.
Christmas time.
It was just the hospital test.
Well, what you call is a test, and when I would bet $1 it was a drug screen.
CPS has tested her 17 times and she's given all cleans.
Well, what's the problem?
I had lost my license. I lost my wallet at Christmas, and I told them, look, I had lost my license, and I can't test. And so, if you could help me get my license back, because I have to get a birth certificate, because I had lost everything after the fire. Had never accumulated another birth certificate and do all that. So it took me 2 months to finally to get all that myself, because they kept saying that they had resources to help us and for gas and whatnot, because it takes a huge toll on financially when you go through a CPS case. Everything turns upside down. And so I finally got, but in that meantime, I didn't have no they kept asking me to test, even though they knew I didn't have a license to test. And it was really frustrating. So, but I had told the judge originally, she said, well, when you get your test, because that's what she said was the only thing stopping her from giving us the kids back was she didn't have a current test on us.
Okay, here's how you solve that problem. Okay. You go take a hair follicle. Hair follicle goes back months, or can go back months. And I'm looking at your hair, it's pretty long. That'll go back months for you. The other thing is about this testing issue, and I didn't come up with this idea, but someone on their own, a parent, told me how they solved this problem. They lost their California driver's license, okay? And they applied for a new one, and there were some complications during COVID. But what they did was they continued to test, and they challenged the drug testing facility and the social worker. Hey, when I show up, just take my picture, and I'll take my picture of me being there on that date.
Oh, yeah, this thing.
Because everybody's got a smartphone now.
That's not how it goes. See, I went through this huge thing with these guys about this, and I've been talking to the social workers and the supervisors and everybody. You have to have a legal form of identification to test. No test equals no ID. You have to have a valid ID. That is probation policy. You can't. You don't get to get out of jail free card or use a phone.
Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
Slow down.
Testing is run through the probation department here.
Okay, hold on a second. So, policies are not law.
Right.
You understand that, right?
Yes.
So, you might want to have you or your attorney explain that to them. But if there is a way that you can satisfy, their requirement to make sure that it's you, because the reason for the ID is, hey, is this really, Charlene?
Yes.
Well, one of the things you can do is take out your smartphone and videotape, you talking to the person and showing your face and all that. That satisfies the requirement. Okay. Now it worked for one person. All right. But it's the type of thing that I think that it should be able to work even if you don't have your ID, because sometimes you just don't have your ID. Look, guess what? I don't have a California driver's license. You know why? I lost it.
She went down for the first 3 tests, and the probation department said that they won't do it without a current ID.
And so, you know how I solved the problem though? I have a passport.
I don't have a passport.
So I started using that.
No,
But I was someplace recently where they didn't want to accept my passport. And I'm like, passport's better than driver's license. So they did finally accept it, but it was kind of a hassle. But you find alternative ways. But the other thing is you need to go down to DMV and get an ID. They have that California ID, not a driver's license. And I think you can get that in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Yes,
I went down and got finally got it all taken care of. And so now I'm just waiting for it to come in the mail. So I'm hoping it's going to be here today, actually.
But the other thing you can do, don't forget, hair follicle test.
Now, aren't this inadmissible in California?
No, who told you that?
Okay, I wasn't
No,
sure.
no. Here you have it a little twisted.
Okay,
What is it not admissible? Well, it's admissible, but this is the rule.
okay,
A judge cannot order you to do a hair follicle test,
okay,
But you can do them yourself.
okay.
right? But if the judge orders it and you don't object to it, you or your attorney, you have to do it.
Now, well, I have a question.
Did you? Well, no. Charlene, did you understand what I just said?
Yes, sir, I do. I very
Okay.
much do.
So
My question.
if you do it yourself, that's like you not objecting, and it's also proof or evidence that you're clean. You've been clean for months.
Right. I understand. I actually, I know it doesn't really mean anything to the courts, but I went out and I bought a box of those, the tests, and periodically when I can't go, I take it myself, and I know it's just between me and him, but at the meantime, my biggest thing is, okay, what, I know I'm clean. So when I go to court and they ask me to test, and I'll go test and it'll come back clean. Okay, so my question is, what if, let's just hypothetically, if say it was to be dirty, what reasons would they have to keep my children?
If you tested dirty,
Yeah, I
well,
really want to know this because,
okay, I'll tell you.
okay,
Since you've lost your disposition hearing, the
okay,
court has taken jurisdiction over your children,
okay,
and the court can use a dirty test as evidence that you are a risk to the child.
okay.
That doesn't mean that that's true or false. It just
Yeah, I
that's a
understand.
standard.
Okay.
Now, if you test dirty, what I would be doing is asking for retest and checking out the facilities, and
Right.
because now after I've listened to that attorney, Corey Okorocha, there's a lot more things that people should be looking at, because over the years, many people have told me, Mr. Davis, I wasn't dirty, but I'm
Right.
looking at a dirty test, and it's like, like, really serious? But now I know what should be done.
She even went as far as going down to Sacramento, and she found an investigator that did polygraph tests. And she sat and did a polygraph test with all the questions has she used since the baby was born. Has she
Oh, yeah.
is she addicted to drugs? Is she a regular user, and all that? And they refused to admit it into evidence.
Right, because polygraphs are generally inadmissible in California. Did you know that?
No,
See, Miss G, how important evidence is? I mean, how important the rules are? Hey, let me ask you something, sir. Do you follow baseball?
no,
Follow football?
yeah,
Why is it 10 yards is a first down?
I'm not sure.
It's just the rule.
True.
Just the rule. And that's how the rules of evidence are, but they're in a book like this thick. And if you don't know all the rules,
I know.
Yeah.
you're screwed. That's why I said to you guys, I understand your desire to want to represent yourself, because nobody's going to care like you.
Mhm.
Problem is, you don't know all the rules.
Yeah, that's our problem, is we just don't know how to say, because we like, whenever we got paperwork, each time we got paperwork, we got it days before court. We never had time we didn't know to ask for time to prepare or to respond or to, I mean,
Right.
it was, we at the last hearing, the toddler's dispositional, and they didn't give us the discovery till 2 weeks after it was over.
They gave us a 720-page discovery on our way into the jurisdictional hearing.
You should immediately ask for continuance.
Yeah, well, we didn't know that.
Yeah, and they do things like that because you don't know that.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a court a few weeks ago, and the social worker's attorney said, well, we gave Mr. Davis the report. Judge looks at me like, well, I said, well, do you have a proof of service that I was served the report? She looks down, she says, no, I don't. Well, presumptively, that means I wasn't served the report. And then a funny thing happened. The county council supervisor was sitting in the back. She jumps up and says, well, in this county, we don't use proofs of service. And I looked at the judge, and I think the judge realized how crazy that sounded. Like, well, how do we know people are getting served reports before, on time before the hearing? Because I also mentioned, I said, my esteemed county counsel, he didn't serve me the report. He said somebody told him. That's multiple hearsay by definition. So you gotta know these little rules,
Yes.
to play in the game.
Mm-hmm.
In the state of California, it takes more evidence to take somebody's bike away from them than it does to take somebody's child away from them.
Yeah,
God bless you. You just nailed it right there.
There was a documentary done by kind of a famous, well-known documentarian, a movie, and part of that movie, he told the stories of 4 CPS families. I think they were all in California, all in LA. And he interviewed 3 attorneys for this documentary, and I was one of the attorneys. And one of the famous lines that I had, and it's true, I said, you have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent. You have more rights in criminal court than you do in CPS court. Now, there's something really wrong with that scenario. Really wrong.
70% more due process rights as a criminal than you do trying to keep your kids.
Right. I remember being a young attorney arguing in CPS courts the Constitution. And I would probably I was laughed at.
Yes.
Like, oh, the Constitution doesn't apply here. Nobody said that, but that's basically what they're telling me. Right? Constitution, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Whenever I had the social worker on the stand during jurisdictional hearing, I asked her, do you know my Fourth Amendment right? And she said, no, I don't know the Constitution. I said, do you know what my 14th Amendment right is? She said, no. I said, do you know that I have the right to the care, custody, and control of my child without interference from the government? She said, I don't know the Constitution. I said, do you know that every Spanish comes over that applies for a visa has to know the Constitution of the United States to apply for a visa? And you are a state agent that works for the CPS department that has the liberty to take people's children away, and you do not know the Constitution of the United States? And she said, no, I don't.
None of them did. They tried to collaborate at all between everybody. I think they got 4 or 5 of them, but that was collectively the whole room. Yeah.
But guess what? It didn't help you or hurt you.
No.
Didn't help you at all.
But you know what I've noticed though? They do hire dumb people though. They do. They really hire stupid people. They don't want them to know anything. They want them to be in the door.
Yeah.
Miss G.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But
I
it's the truth, though.
know
I know you're gonna object, Mr. Davis. I know.
People are young, and there's no age. I was just talking about this the other day. There's no age on knowledge. Sometimes maybe you might learn something in your 20s, but some people might die and never understand. And
I agree, but I'm talking about the agency itself. They're stupid. I'm talking about agency. Talking about they don't want them bright. They don't want them knowledgeable because
Miss G, for YouTube purposes and community standards, maybe we should pick a different word.
Sorry.
I got in trouble recently for something that was said on something was said on YouTube. It was First Amendment free speech, but YouTube didn't like it. And they suspended me for I think a week.
Yeah.
Right. And we're trying to stay clear of that, and respect YouTube's rules. I know it's First Amendment and everything, but YouTube has its own rules. And YouTube's owned by Google, and Google owns the world. So what are you going to do?
Well, and Google is owned by the Democrats. Anyways,
I just finished my 40-page 1983 complaint with 27 causes of action, and in it I'm asking for a permanent injunction to change a few of those things. In fact, whenever CPS gives you a slip to go and test, there's no disclaimer on it that says that you waive your Fourth or Fifth Amendment right.
No, you don't waive that. But let me tell you something. there is a guy on YouTube. He has a show Monday through Friday. I think it might be Monday through Sunday. He's on YouTube. His name is Shawn, SHAWN.
No one-
McMillan. Okay. He has that show at 6:30 p.m. And I think it's every day. You need to watch some of his videos. And I just realized this the other day. I didn't know this, but I was watching his channel, and he has a membership feature where you can pay to be a member, and when you pay to be a member, you get special videos that the regular public doesn't get. So I'm paying to be a member, but the stuff that he has is invaluable.
Yes.
If you're not going to get a lawyer, first of all, you should call Shawn and ask him if he'll take your case. But if you're not going to get a lawyer, you need to be looking at that video.
Yeah, we watch his videos. He shoots us messages, so you hear a little here and there. He'll answer a few questions for us, help us out when we're going through all this. So,
but I don't know how much the membership is. I forget, but you should join that membership.
His videos are outstanding.
Yeah, I mean they're literally outstanding.
Yes.
And it's written by a guy, or these videos are done by a guy who's truly an expert. He's really an expert at this, and he focuses, I think, solely, if not mainly, on suing CPS. And I know he's done cases all over California. He's done cases all over. Well, I know he did a couple cases that I know of for sure in Arizona. So I think he may be going to other states. I know a couple years ago, he had become a lawyer in Washington. So I'm guessing he may be doing cases up there. But he is really a guru. And, the thing about him is he's one of the hardest working lawyers that I've ever met.
God bless him. Yeah.
I mean,
God
you
bless
talk
him.
about hard work. I mean, the guy puts in the hours, the time. Now here's the one downside. There's only 24 hours in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He probably sleeps 8. He has a family. So he can't take every case. Right. And I'm not suggesting he'd take your case. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. But the next best thing is you look at his video channel, you look at his YouTube channel. You become a member of his channel and get those special videos. I was just looking. Actually, I tried to look at, and I wasn't a member. I tried to look at a video on drafting I think it was drafting a civil rights complaint. So if you're going to file a lawsuit, you better watch that video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I study his videos, and that's where I get a lot of my information from.
Right. But studying, the free stuff is one thing.
Yeah.
Becoming a member and getting the secret stuff, that's a whole nother thing. I don't know how much is he charging for a membership?
I think it's pretty cheap. I think it's like $40 a month.
Yeah. Listen, if you're going to do a multi-million-dollar lawsuit,
yeah, it's worth it.
$40 a month is peanuts.
Yeah.
Yep.
So definitely take a look at his.
Yes. He's very good at breaking down the CPS to the minimum and having them explain what everything is and why they do things.
Yeah. Have you seen some of his videos?
Yes.
Depositions?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Just to digress a minute, the reason why I know Shawn is because Shawn and I both are graduates of something called the Jerry Spence Trial Lawyers College.
Oh, see, I told him about it yesterday. I was like, you gotta check this out, honey.
And then he and I also were involved in another program called the Trojan Horse Method of Trial Attorney that has morphed into something called the Trial Lawyer University, and started and founded by an attorney by the name of Dan Ambrose, who's a hell of a trial attorney, and he's actually coached me. He's in the past he's coached Shawn on cases. But so that's how I know Shawn, and the information that he's had and that he's gathered through research and through his experiences as a lawyer doing real cases. And this is not theoretical stuff. This is real stuff. He used to he still does. He used to videotape, or still does, the depositions of the social workers. Okay.
Yes.
And I talked to him once about it, and I said, well, I don't videotape the depositions. And then he told me the 101 reasons why I should be videotaping the social worker's depositions. And I think since he told me that, we've probably videotaped 99% of the videos in social worker depositions. It is so valuable to videotape a deposition of a social worker. It's kind of incredible. I remember watching a trial Dan and Sean did with a bunch of other attorneys in LA County. And I think his either first or second witness was an edited videotape of his deposition of the social worker. Now, you know what makes that so brilliant? Is that the other side, they can't cross-examine a videotape. So it was like the jury sitting there, watching this video, and the only thing they were missing was the popcorn. Because video, it's so persuasive.
Yeah.
So it just gets you into the story. And he ended up winning a case that I thought he wasn't going to win. As a matter of fact, I thought, this is how smart I am, I thought the case was going to be thrown out before he even got to trial. And he was able to bypass all of that. That client went to many different attorneys, including me, over the years before the case was filed. And I think I remember talking to Sean about this. And I think he said that she had come to him like 4 times, and he had told her no 4 times.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Right. And then on the 5th time, he said, I just feel sorry for this lady. I'm going to give it a shot for her.
She ended up calling his dad, didn't she?
Well, that's a whole nother story. We won't get into that. But suffice it to say, he won.
Yes.
He won. And
I think they had the deposition online where you can listen to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he has a lot of depositions online where you can listen to
It's
it.
good.
Every
The
day.
social workers are kind of like.
So, I mean,
what I say? What I say?
that's one of the biggest things I learned from him, and it's actually a big tool, big discovery tool.
Now, my other question was about not just the recording the hearing, but when it comes to recording during a visit, like you how a parent wants to record your kids playing and interacting because, everybody's going to want to see videos, family, whatnot later. Now, what is that? Is that because some people have been real funny about it. Some say, oh, well, you can't do that. And I said, well, yes, I can.
Yes, you can.
And they go, well,
it's funny.
I have
The day before
me too.
The day before yesterday, we had this discussion. Do you remember this, Miss G?
Yes,
Me,
I
you, and
recall
Darren?
that.
Okay. So
And
here's
you
my.
said it has to be approved by a judge. It can be
Yeah.
approved by a judge if the judge approves it.
I
But wait,
think
let me say something before you say this, okay? And tell me if I'm wrong, please, Mr.
you're
David.
wrong.
Right away. But wait,
Yeah.
I was told that only sex offenders are the ones who are not allowed to record. Meaning, if God, it's the father, for example, that molested the child, right? And they're still allowing him visitation. He's not supposed to hug the child. He's not supposed to videotape the child. So in the visits, but that's the only time it stands with no recording. Get it?
I've never heard that before. I can't tell you whether you're right or wrong. I've never heard that before.
Okay, then maybe like the drug testing, maybe you should inquire.
But this is an issue that's coming up a lot because I'm in the middle of a trial right now.
Yeah.
Where the social worker testified that during the visits between mother and child, they were, terrible. Mom was doing all kind of crazy stuff. And the client says to me, none of that's true.
Yeah.
And she says, as a matter of fact, they videotape all the visits. I go, oh, really? She goes, yeah, you could see they videotape it. And she said, ask for the videotapes and we can prove that what the social worker is saying is not true. So I subpoenaed the videotapes. First, the county council tells me, oh, we don't have videotapes. And I said, well, I believe you do because my client saw the video record, the camera with the red light on indicating, something's recording.
It's happening here.
Next thing I hear from him is a motion to quash my subpoena. Now they don't want to give me the videotapes. Now they're acknowledging the videotapes exist, but now they don't want to give it to me. the motion hasn't been heard by the judge, but if the judge grants that motion and doesn't require them to give me the videotapes, I think that's going to be a great issue on appeal,
Yes.
Okay.
because
Absolutely.
we didn't
And a lawsuit.
we didn't videotape the visits. They did,
Yes.
and then they had the nerve to get on the stand and say something under oath that my client says is not true, and now they don't want to give them to me.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought we didn't know they were being videotaped. I didn't know because I'm not at the visit, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Client is.
They wanna
Maybe they didn't know
squash
she realized it. And
The reason they don't.
by
Oh.
the way, if my client did a criminal act during that visit, you could rest assured that we'd see that videotape.
Absolutely. That's why usually the perpetrator would not want to be caught, right? So they will do everything to stop anything from being evidence. Get it, guys? Get it
Yeah.
now? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Charlene,
Married to one of
Yes,
those.
sir.
Charlene,
Yes, sir.
when you're having fun, time flies, and we're way past our time limit. But
Yeah.
before we go, are there any questions you want to ask me?
I think I've been taking notes over here on the side to keep turning my head here. I think that answered what I really felt we needed to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is this tape is going to exist forever on the internet,
Okay.
both on Facebook and YouTube.
Well, it's very nice meeting you both.
You too,
Okay, nice
sweetheart.
meeting you too. If you guys have any questions, please give us a call. If you think of any questions later, just give us a
Just
call.
text it to me. I don't know if you have my number, my direct number.
I got you on email.
I have
Okay,
one.
cool.
I have one quick question.
Yeah.
On my 1983, my TRO permanent injunction or preliminary injunction with the term TRO. Do I
Mhm.
put that at the beginning in my jurisdiction and venue, or do I put it in the rear with my damages?
I'd say both.
Okay.
But here's the thing. And I don't know if Sean would agree or disagree with me on this, but in my mind, if you put it in both places, there's no harm, no foul.
Okay.
It's pleading a complaint is not, it's structured, but it's not that structured, right? If you put it in both places, you're good to go,
Okay.
in my opinion. Now, Sean may have something different. I don't know because I haven't seen his video on complaint drafting, but I can't wait to look at it. I'm going to look at it and and share that information with all my attorneys because I'm really getting information from an expert, right? I really am.
God bless him. Yep.
Yeah. One of the biggest cases I ever did against CPS, civil rights cases, was a case that Sean referred me. And he calls me one day and says, "Hey, man, I'm in a trial, doing a civil rights case, and I'm about to start another trial. This lady's case needs to be filed, and I don't have time to do it. Would you take over the case?" And I was like, "Well, if you don't want it, why would I want it?" Right? Because this case was a straight contingency fee. I hadn't met the lady. So the lady comes in, I meet her, and I'm like, "Oh, it's because she's credible, and this sounds like something viable." And he gave me, he turned the client over to me. I took on the case. We signed an agreement, took the case all the way almost to trial. And it was resolved. It was one of the biggest CPS cases I've ever done. So people, but that's the problem. The only downfall of Sean, there's only 24 hours in a day. He
Yeah.
can't do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when cases like in this particular situation, two different judges, I think they were both federal judges, didn't care about his scheduling problem. He finished the case. You want to take a breather? No, next day you got to start my trial. So, and I don't know if you can imagine this, but when they go into trial, I mean, it's really intense, a lot of work,
Right.
nothing else on your mind. So he didn't have the time to, give this lady. So he found somebody else. Luckily, it was me.
Thank God for that too.
God bless you for that.
Yeah, they're good. They're both good attorneys. I've seen Davis
I've-
in trial
We'll
too.
go back
He's
and
good.
forth with you guys.
They're both good.
So the last thing I want to tell you, I told you about calling us if you have any other questions about CPS matters. But sir, you need to look at Sean's video on complaint drafting. I was just looking at his videos the other day, and that it seems to me that would be like one of the number one things you need to do before you file your lawsuit. And if he's just charging you $40 a month to become a member,
Do
that's
it.
I don't get anything from that. Sean never even told me he was doing that on YouTube. But if he's doing that, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna join his membership.
Yeah, because your Monell liability and a lot of your qualified immunity is set in your complaint drafting.
Absolutely. Okay, you've been watching this videos. It's free videos. Gotta upgrade, my man. Gotta upgrade. Okay, folks. Hey, listen, I want to thank you for calling in today and sharing your story from Butte County and your problems with CPS. I do wish you the best at your 6-month review, and I do wish you the best on your appeal. Don't take this lightly. Do not take this lightly. And remember what I said. Get that child moved to a friendly relative or a family friend. And it doesn't matter if they don't live in Butte County. It doesn't matter if they don't live in California. It doesn't matter even if they don't live in the United States. How about that one?
Okay.
Get the child moved.
Too.
Yeah, get the child moved. Because that foster parent with your 2 beautiful children, they can't wait. They can't wait.
Bastards.
Alrighty, folks.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you too, and have a good rest of the day. Miss G, thank you very much. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. on our weekly show. Bye-bye.
Okay, it was nice meeting you.
You
Bye-bye.
too, sweetheart. Bye-bye.